Okay, we're going to learn Rebbe's Maamar on Rosh Hashanah, which was the last Maamar the Rebbe edited for Tavshin Nun Beis. Okay, so the Maamar begins. The Pasuk speaks about the Bayemahu when Mashiach comes. You talk about Shofar Gadol. It will be blown, the big Shofar. The lost people of Asher. And the pushed away people, Beretz Mitzrayim, they'll all come. And they'll come and bow before in the mountain of Hashem, Yerushalayim. Basically, Mashiach will blow Shofar. Eidan doesn't say who blows. Mashiach is going to blow. Shofar will be blown, and all the lost people, all the pushed away people are going to come. So now the Rebbe asks a question in this Maamar in the Kutataydo. Why does it say Shofar Gadol? Why does it say Shofar? Shofar, the Shofar Gadol. Mao Amayla, the Shofar Gadol. What's the advantage of a big Shofar? You blow Shofar, it's big or small, it doesn't matter. Like the Rebbe asks in the Maamar, it says Yitaka Stam. Yitaka means he will blow. Why doesn't it add who's blowing? Who's going to blow? Doesn't say who. But more I'm saying, the middle Rebbe asks another question, and it says Yitaka, meaning Yitaka with the comments. In Hebrew grammar, Yitaka means it will be blown by itself. It's passive, whatever. So number one, why doesn't it say who's going to be blowing? Secondly, it implies that he's going to be blowing himself. So, what does that mean? And I just want to mention, there was twice a year, when the Rebbe said Maamar, he quoted all the Rabbi. There was Rosh Hashanah and Yud Shvat. At least, those two, every Rosh Hashanah Maamar has, and in the later years, Bechal, the Baal Shem Tov, the Magid, all the Rabbeim, and the later years he also quoted his father. So every Rosh Hashanah Maamar that the Rebbe ever said was all the Rabbeim in it, and Yud Shvat Maamar is all the Rabbeim in it. At least once, and it could be happened by other Maamarim too, but this was officially, he mentioned all the Maamarim, all the Rabbeim. Okay, but more, so there's two, what's Shofar Gadol? It doesn't say who's going to blow, and what it means passively blowing. He said in the Kodesh Sabir Bad Roshim, explanation is the Sayyidei Shofar Stam. The awakening, Shofar awakens people, like the Rambam says. Uri Yeshenim Yishenatzchem, it wakes you up from sleep. The awakening of a Shofar Stam is only Le'el Hashem B'Kirav K'tzatz. Those people that are close, so Shofar wakes them up. But in order to awaken the far out people, that they should also be awakened to come to Yerushalayim and to Har Hashem, or the Shofar Gadol. In other words, spiritually speaking, a regular Shofar can awaken people that are half asleep. People that are completely asleep, you need a big Shofar.
Early in the morning when people are asleep.
Hakachainik. My suggestion, don't eat rice, you won't have to say slichas. But to explain the concept of Shofar Gadol that would be lost in Lavai, the Rebbe explains, being in Shofar, the Rosh Hashanah action. In other words, in order to understand what Shofar Gadol means, first you need to understand what Shofar is. After you understand what a regular Shofar is, then you can understand what Shofar Gadol. He says, what happens when a Yid blows Shofar? The days as Yisrael take him as Shofar. So this, that the Yidden blow Shofar, which is Tzaka de Pnimis Halev, which is a cry from the essence of that. There's no words. Crying B'chlal is different than Seichel, speech. If you can handle something, then you say it. If you can't handle it, you cry. So cry comes from a level of the neshama which is above seichel. You can't say it in seichel. By days, through this, that the pneumius of the Jew is awakened Nimshach Pnimis Halev de Lamayla Kaviyachol Ratzin Elyon Shelamayla Miachov. So it says in Kabbalah that because you blow shofar down here, so what's the reaction of Hashem? We awaken the Pnimis of our heart higher than Chochmah, so Hashem awakens a level of Elokus from the essence of Hashem higher than Chochmah. And that's what the pasuk says. Va'adnei havaya b'shofar yitaka. He said this pasuk in the davening Rosh Hashanah from Zechariah. He says that Hashem Adnei Havaya b'Shofar Yitaka, meaning the Kamesh and Tkiyah Shofar the Adam. He had Tzayka the Pnimis Halev. Just like what do you mean? Hashem it says Adnei Havaya b'Shofar Yitaka. What do you mean Hashem is going to blow shofar? Just like our blowing shofar is the pneumius of the person. The same thing Kaviyach Hashem is blowing shofar. It's his pneumius. Al derech zeh l'mayla. The inyan tkir shofar amshachas v'gili ha-pneumius is a gilui of the pneumius of Elokus. And therefore, v'achilek ben shofar stam l'shofar gadol. So he says, in essence, what does shofar do? Shofar awakens the pneumius. That's every shofar. What's the difference between shofar stam and shofar gadol? Shofar stam is amshacha v'gili pnimis elokus, which is above worlds, which is still shaykh la'elamis, which is seviv kol almin. We know many times the expression all over Chassidus, seviv kol almin. Now there's mamalo kol almin, which is the level that comes into the worlds. Seviv kol almin means it's above worlds. But the fact that it's seviv kol almin means, yes, it's above world, but it's still connected to world. V'shofar gadol is amshachas v'gili pnimis elokus, which is completely higher than connection to world, even higher than seviv. What?
Is the shofar on the same level of the V'yipach?
What?
V'yipach?
No, it's deeper than V'yipach. It's deeper than V'yipach. Yeah, by the way, this similar concept, what Chassidus explains, the mashal from Mamala and Seviv and less machshava tvisibei is food, you internalize, clothing, you don't but it's a Seviv, but it has to fit you. It's not one size fits all. So Seviv Kolam is a mashal of garments that, yeah, they're around you, but they have to fit you. And bias is one size fits all, because it's a completely different market.
Gardening is not passive, it's take that shofar.
Do we finish? We just started the Maamar. And what does that have to do? What we say to Kabish, we're telling Hashem blow shofar. But then there's a level of Yitaka, which is even greater. Okay. Therefore, by shofar stam it says Adnai Havaya b'shofar Yitaka. It says who's going to blow it? Havaya Adnai. The Adnai Havaya are Shemus. Okay, Shemus Eila Adnai b'nikud Elokim im Nailim Yosef. Okay. It says the pasuk of Adnai Elokim b'shofar Yitaka. But Elokim is written Yud Kei Vav Kei with the Nekudas of Elokim. We have that many times. So he says it's a very lofty name, but it's still a name. But shofar gadol, so therefore it says like this: on the regular level of shofar that's connected to world, makif, but it's still connected to world. It says the names V'adai Elokim b'shofar Yitaka. It's written Havaya, but it's pronounced Havaya because it's names of Hashem. Granted, lofty names, but it's names. By shofar gadol, it's higher than names. Therefore, it says Yitaka. It's higher than any name. This is even higher than names. In other words, names, like we learned many times, the names of Hashem, a name represents the way you identify with somebody else. Yourself, you don't need a name. Somebody talk about you, call you, whatever it is, if you to identify with somebody else. So all the shemus of Hashem are the way Hashem comes into Midas. The 7 names that correspond to 7 Midas. That's the way Hashem created the worlds on. Then there's a level of Hanechi, so to speak, which is above names. That's the level of Yitaka. Yitaka means it's a level higher than this. So he says now in Beis, to explain the even greater than concept of Shofar Gadol, maybe at Tzemach Tzedek. Tzemach Tzedek brings down in his explanation of the Alter Rebbe's Maamar, Masha Kosuv, L'Likutei Torah. When the Alter Rebbe writes in L'Likutei Torah, Love and Amit Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah Shcholi is b'Shabbos. Shofar b'Mikdash you take in Avalei Medina. Tzemach Tzedek brings down the famous Mishnah, Yom Tov Rosh Hashanah that falls on the Shabbos, b'Mikdash are you taken, in the Beis HaMikdash they blew, but not b'Medina, not outside the Beis HaMikdash. Because Rabbi made it say that maybe you'll come to carry it, and so on and so forth. Yet in the Beis HaMikdash they did blow. So it says, because this, that Rosh Hashanah, you need to blow shofar, is to create the time that Hashem should want, to create worlds. We learned in the other Maamar, right? Rosh Hashanah night, Rosh Hashanah, Hashem disappeared. We learned Tanya this week, right? Hashem disappears. Now we have to bring him back. We have to recoronate him. So what is how do we do that? Through Shofar and the Musaf, the Psukim of Machi Zechret Shofar. So what has to be created? The Tainug, the desire of Hashem to want to create a world. Why should he want to? So we have to create within Hashem a Tainug to want to create worlds. Right? So it explains, therefore Shabbos we don't need. Because Shabbos, v'karasa la Shabbos eineg. Shabbos is the level of eineg. So Shabbos itself brings down what Shofar accomplishes. So let's see it inside. And therefore, v'kiv in the Shabbos mitzar atzme. Yeshna tainug. Shabbos itself is tainug. It's a v'karasa Shabbos eineg. L'chein b'Rosh Hashanah b'Shabbos. Ein tzorach kol kach. You don't need so much. And the Rebbe in 13 says, in the Likutei Torah it doesn't say kol kach, but Tzemach Tzedek adds kol kach, that kir shofar. So now the question is, so why did they blow shofar in the Beis HaMikdash? If Shabbos accomplishes what shofar does, so why b'Mikdash are you taken? V'zeh sheb'Mikdash are you taken? Gam b'Rosh Hashanah shecholi es b'Shabbos, ki b'tainug kamer madregas. There's many levels of tainug. There's a tainug shemamshichin eidei kir shofar. The tainug of shofar is nailus yosim midargas tainug de Shabbos, is even greater than the tainug of Shabbos. Why? Tainug of Shabbos comes b'chitzenius hakeser arich, the lower level of keser sherish and etzolim. But tainug shemshicha eidei kir shofar b'mikdash comes from pnimius hakeser from tchinat tachteinu shebamaitzel. In other words, he's going to elaborate on this in a second. But basically, the Tzemach Tzedek explains like this. Shofar accomplishes tainug. Therefore, Shabbos itself creates tainug. But the level of tainug that Shabbos creates is the same level as shofar. But then there's a tainug which is even greater than that. Greater than Shabbos. That's the tkir shofar in the Mikdash. Because the Rebbe is going to point out, there's a lot of different levels of shofar. For instance, that even the tainug of b'china tachteina shebamat, even the higher level of tainug, yeah, yesh the kamer madregis, and he says like this: tainug nimshach b'bayis rishon through tkir shofar is greater than bayis sheni, because even in bayis sheni they blew shofar on Shabbos. But just understand, the first Beis HaMikdash wasn't missing the 10th thing, whatever. It had everything. It's a much greater Gilu of Elokus. Or Bayis Rishon Atzmai, even in the Bayis Rishon, the Shofar of Yom Kippur of Yovel, because Yovel only existed in Bayis Rishon where all the Jews were in Eretz Yisrael. Inala Yesa Mishofar Rosh Hashanah is even greater than the level of Rosh Hashanah, because it's Yovel, Yom Kippur, Yovel. Afal Pikain, even by Shofar of Yovel, it says Vavarta Shofar Trua, regular Shofar. Shofar Stam. Yet, Umizem Uven Shofar Gadol. which will be Lasid Lavai, is even greater than the Gilui is greater even than the Shofar of Yovel. So in other words, the Rebbe explains it. Samach Tzedek is explaining that based on the Rebbe's Maamar, Rosh Hashanah Shchol is b'Shabbos you don't blow Shofar because Shabbos accomplishes it. Why did B'Mikdash are you taken? Because there's a higher level of timing, which Shabbos doesn't have. And in that itself you have like this. Bayis Rishon is greater than Bayis Sheni. Yovel in Bayis Rishon was even greater. Yet by all those, it only says Shofar Stam. Yet La'asad Lavai is going to be even, the Shofar is going to be so gogol that even compared to Yovel of the first Beis HaMikdash, it's also going to be greater.
The ultimate
Shofar gogol. It doesn't mean the long, it means. So he says like this. Lahaysev, to add to this, the Rebbe writes like this. Shofar gogol be La'asad Lavai. It says L'mayla Yosef gam Shofar in the Matan Torah. By Matan Torah it says Vayikol HaShofar. Over there also doesn't say Shofar Gadol. It says even by Matan Torah it says Vayikol HaShofar, Shofar Stam. It says Kol Shofar Halich v'Chazik Ma'id. Doesn't mean the Shofar. It means the Kol of the Shofar was big. Kol Gadol. But the Shofar of Matan Torah, it doesn't say Shofar Gadol. You can imagine the Shofar of Matan Torah was greater than the Shofar of Yovel. And even that Shofar says regular Shofar. And he says, why he could eat a Birkat Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Lazar Agadol, Birkat Rabbi Lazar, it says like this. The two Kirones, why do we blow Shofar? It has to do with the Ayel Shel Yitzchak. The Ayel of Yitzchak, every Ayel has two Shofars. It's two rams, two horns on each. There's the right one and the left one. So it says over there like this. Keren Shel Smol, the Medrash says in Pirkei Rabbi Lazar, the left Keren was the Shofar of Matan Torah. V'yikol HaShofar. HaShofar, the Shofar. But Keren Shel Yamin, the Pirkei Rabbi Lazar says, the right horn, that's going to be the Shofar Gadol. Shabbos K'min La'asid, you talk about Shofar Gadol. So he said, Shofar Gadol is even greater than the Shofar Matan Torah. Why? Matan Torah was the left Shofar. The right Shofar obviously is greater than the left Shofar. So the Pirkei Rabbi Lazar says, the left Shofar was Matan Torah. The right Shofar is going to be the Shofar Gadol La'asad Lavai. So you can imagine, as great as Shofar is, that it awakens the ultimate level of Tainug, of Bayis Rishon, Yovel, Yom Kippur of Yovel, and even greater than that Matan Torah, it's still not the level of Shofar Gadol.
Who was the Tokea?
You wait a while for